Good morning. I'm John McClure, and we're pleased that you could join us here today for another panel of God at Work, broadcast from the First Sebring Church here in Sebring, Florida. We have as our guest today a father-daughter duo, and we're just simply delighted. This is Steve Slayball and his daughter Stephanie Wirtz, and they have a business here in town called Heartland Coatings. So if you don't know about Heartland Coatings, hopefully by the end of this broadcast you will, because I can assure you that is a place that God is indeed at work. But before we get into that, let's talk about a little bit of background with our guests. I think people like to get to know a little bit about you and who you are and what you do. And so, Stephanie, I'm going to start with you. You're here in Sebring, Florida, but I don't think you started here. So
I did not start here. I grew up in Indiana, and then was in Michigan for a while, and my husband and I moved down here 6 years ago now from the Detroit area.
Is that to start work with Steve in the business, or for different reasons?
We moved down here. At that time, the economy in Michigan was not good, and it's very cold in Michigan. And we decided, why are we cold when we can move down and be by my parents and be warm? So that was the whole
no-brainer.
Right, yeah, the whole reason. Our kids were all grown and out of the house, and so it just seemed like the thing to do was to move down here. And we didn't initially think to set up the business. That just kind of, it just there it was.
Yeah. And so, Steve, I know that you have not always been here either, but you found your way into Sebring, Florida, in a very big way, I might add. Just by way of background, I'll say that I met Steve Slayball years ago, and we have had opportunities to be in one project after another and serving the Lord, and it's really been a great trip for both of us, I think. I've truly enjoyed it. But let's talk about, actually, before I met you, when you had a little business here in Highlands County called, was it Cargo Trailers?
Steve's Cargo Express.
Steve's Cargo Express. Tell us a little bit about that.
That business just kind of evolved. I moved my parents down here and bought a trailer in Indiana and brought it down here and set it on a lot, and it sold right away. And so I thought, well, that was pretty easy. So I ended up getting a load and then 2 loads, and the next thing you know, I had 60 trailers on the lot and a big parts store, and that was such a fun business. But the economy in 2008 killed the business, and we had to close it. It was just a heartbreaker. And at that point in time, I didn't think I'd ever go back into business again. It was just such a painful loss. So I wasn't looking to get back into business again.
Now, while you were in business, if we're talking about God at work, I'm sure, knowing you, that you were praying and asking for the Lord's guidance. And sometimes it's hard to understand when we feel like we're in the Lord's will and the business has been very successful and He's blessing us, why suddenly the bottom falls out. Yeah. I don't know, do you have any thoughts about that?
That was one of the hardest questions I think I've ever had. Why? Because we was, blessing our church at that time and taking really good care of my employees. We prayed every morning and walked a lot and prayed, and we was going through the downturn for a year and a half. I just kept thinking the economy will turn around, and it just didn't. And I had to close it. It was a heartbreaker. And the only conclusion I ever came through that was I landed on my feet. I was tried by fire and found faithful. And that's the only conclusion I've ever came to about that.
I think what you've said is very important in this sense. It's simply because just because we're Christians doesn't mean we have a red carpet in front of us and everything's always going to be perfect. And thank you, Lord, for blessing my life in such a perfect way. We all have our own hurdles that we come up against. We have our own difficulties we have to work through. And to actually lose your business and your livelihood, you have to say, Lord, what's happening here? That would be very difficult to do. So what did you do as a result of that?
Well, I went to Texas and worked in the oil fields for about 15 months and kind of recouped some finances and kind of got back on our feet again. And then when David and Stephanie moved down here, Davey was trying to find kind of whatever kind of work he could, and there just wasn't anything very available to what he liked, and he had some powder coating experience. So as a family, we kind of decided to do Heartland Coatings. And so that's kind of how it started. And we had some real God moments in the beginning that brought back those old fears of my business failure. We ordered an oven out of Iowa, and the guy turned out to be a shyster, and so when we made the last payment, the guy quits answering his phone. And so
Before you got the oven.
Yeah.
before we got the oven, he quit answering his phone, but he came around finally and shipped the oven to us, and we got our oven. And then Stephanie spent till 10 o'clock at night putting up our website to at least get us a presence. And the very next morning at 10 o'clock, somebody called us, and they had a major contract with the Coast Guard to do lead bricks and wanted to know if we could powder coat the very next morning. And just so many of the people were excited about us starting a powder coating business never came in the door, and we were just hearing crickets, and so it was just a God moment that we got that contract right away, because that took us through a few months of cash flow to keep us going. So.
So Stephanie, when you came down, did you have any idea anything like this was going to happen?
Golly, no. No, I didn't. I assumed Davey would end up, he is a welder by trade, so I assumed he'd end up welding somewhere, and I'm a server bartender by trade, and that's just what I figured we would do. And I never ever thought I would have a desk job, you know. But I love it. It's a lot of fun. I'm having a great time. Our customers are amazing.
So let's talk a little bit about the business development and how things happen with Heartland Coatings. You know, when you think about, okay, a powder coating business is really a good thing, a very necessary thing. I'll confess right now, I've been a client of that business, and I'm very pleased with the things that you've been able to do with the things I've sent to you. I mean, I take these old rusty things to you, and they come back beautiful, just sandblasted, primed, recoated, and like new. And it is a great renewal business, and I think you serve a very necessary purpose.
Thank you.
But Highlands County is kind of a small place.
Yes.
So do you work solely within the county, or how does that work for you? What do you do?
We started out only in this area because we just didn't know really what we could do or what, you know. And Highlands County does actually do very well. We do have a lot of good local customers. But you know, we want to pay. We wanted to buy our own building, so you know, we are trying to get bigger, and we need more customer base to do that. So I started doing Facebook promotions and such to a broader base. So now we have people coming even from Jacksonville. We have a customer down in the Keys, Naples. It really has just
Word of mouth.
yeah, it's crazy how
Word of the social media.
yeah
first.
yeah it's done a lot of good for us. So
Well, I would say this, knowing your husband as I do, Davey, he's a perfectionist, if you will. Office, unless it's, I mean, out of that shop, unless it's just right, is my observation. Again.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I think quality work speaks for itself.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit more about how God has been at work in your business. How do you sense that? What are some examples you could give of that?
Well, John, after we did this big lead brick contract for the Coast Guard, business was still kind of slow, and that helped us through that process. And at that time, we had a neighbor next door that sold glass bottles. Now, powder coating is an electrostatic process, so you have to ground the part, and the powder is charged, and it's kind of like rubbing a balloon in your hair, how it makes the static, and that's what makes the powder cling. And obviously glass doesn't conduct electricity, so just in a slow moment in our business and kind of his, he wanted to know if we could powder coat glass, and we said, well, let's see if we can. And that lasted for probably about 3 years of powder coating glass bottles for this company, and we did them by the tens of thousands of bottles. And I mean, felt like a real God moment, because even other powder coaters tell us we can't powder coat glass, and we powder coated glass. So
The best way to make something happen is to tell Davey that he can't do it, and then he figures out a way to do it.
Well, I wish I'd known you years ago when I had this gear shift knob that needed to be chromed. You would have been an answer to my prayers at that point. So, let's talk about at work.
Mhm.
Do you feel like what you have going on at work is in a godly atmosphere?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Every time somebody comes into our shop, it gives us an opportunity. And not just even at work. Every time in life, everywhere you go, you are given the opportunity to be an example, of hope, of charity, of love, of Christ. And so it's important to me, and our family. The biggest thing, yeah, we do great work. The powder coating is awesome, but most importantly, we want people to see the example that we are giving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we want people to walk out of there and go, you know, those people have something, and I need to have that too. And if we can even just touch one life in a positive way, then everything else is the gravy. You know, that's what I think. That's what I think is most important.
Do you think any of your customers know of your faith and
Oh,
come
yeah.
to you because of that?
Yeah, we have people, customers that come in. One young man, he and his girlfriend just broke up, and he's devastated. And so he came in to sit down, and I just prayed with him. And I think it's important, again, that we have to be a good example. That's why are we here if not to be a good example? So I'm positive that when they come in, they leave knowing what we're about, and again, and hopefully wanting to be part of that.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity here.
Ah.
So when you prayed with this guy,
Mhm.
what was his reaction? How did that go? What happened?
He cried.
Mm-hmm.
Then I cried because I cry. And but I mean, I don't know, but I know that he was comforted for that moment.
Yes.
So I would like to think that I've seen him a few times since, and he seems to be a little perkier, you know, getting a bit. But he's young, you know. Young people
Sure.
are resilient. But
I think when you pray with people, in that circumstance in particular, you know, God sends a message to you that this person needs prayer,
mhm.
and you need to be responsive to that message. You
Yeah.
know, that happens to me a lot, and I'm sure that. So when you pray with people, even if they don't leave the room and say, "Hallelujah, Jesus Christ is my Savior," you know, I'm saved now, thank goodness, and
Right.
where all life is new. There's still a difference you make.
Mhm.
The Holy Spirit works on their lives at that moment and touches them in ways that we might never understand or comprehend, I believe. I really do believe that. That's why I asked about the reaction
Yeah.
and what happened, because, you know, sometimes maybe you meet him on the street and he says, "You got no idea how much it meant to me for you to pray with me that day. It
Yeah.
just changed everything."
Yeah.
You know, so what a lot of people don't understand, I think, is when we say God at work, there are plenty of chances for God to be at work with us.
Well, John, and not only have we been able to bless individuals, but we've just started a couple of months ago blessing other businesses too, and that has been pretty phenomenal.
Well, tell us about that.
I had this dream.
You're
one
on the
night.
hot seat here.
I know. I had a dream one night, and it was very personal, and I was very specifically told that in order for us to do better, we have to also have our community do better. You know, Heartland Coatings can be well and fine, but if Highlands County is not doing well, then, you know, it's a, I don't know the word I want to say, but it's a big circle.
Synergistic effort.
Oh, that's a $5 word.
Yeah, I'm a lawyer.
So-
What do you expect?
So, and anyway, the gist of it was that in order for us to do well, we have to help others do well. And I believe in that. I believe it takes a community, you know, to raise an idiot, or however that phrase goes. So I talked to my parents about it, and we decided that it would be a really great idea. So we do every day a small business shout out. And Mom goes out and she takes pictures and interviews people and talks to them and gets the information. And then we put it onto our Heartland Coatings Facebook page. And it has been an amazing response. Every day I get phone calls for people asking more about the businesses that we posted, and I always say, well, you should call the business, you know. But some of the businesses that we've posted also have thanked us that they've gotten an uptick in business as well.
Well, you just did Gator Shack out on 98, and how many hits did?
1,700.
1,700?
1,700 hits on that.
As in 1,700?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hits on, now when you say hits on,
On that post.
okay, the likes, in
Yeah.
other words? Okay.
Sometimes likes, or they'll leave a message, or
Okay.
they send me a.
And that's in your website that you got the hits?
Yeah.
Wow. That is truly remarkable. That has got at work.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So okay, so you're helping other businesses as you're working out there. So tell me a little bit more about your outreach. I think you said you're on social media. And
We do Facebook. I'm learning Instagram. I'm trying to be all hip and cool, and learning Instagram. It's slow, but I'm trying. And then our website. I've been working on developing our website, which is also just not my wheelhouse. So it's, you can teach old dogs new tricks. We've learned, so it just gets it's a challenge, but it's a good challenge.
well, I think the Lord shows you if you're trying to reach out, look this way, look that way. Just you've already indicated one way, in my opinion, and that is by involving other businesses. That to me it couldn't be more Christian to say we want to help you. It's helping others.
Yeah.
The two greatest commandments are love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
And so this is an example, I believe, of you loving your neighbor as yourself. You're not trying to glorify yourself. You're trying to help others and lift them up. And I think that's when God blesses us
John,
the most.
I don't do retirement real well. I've tried retiring about 3 or 4 times and been a miserable failure. So we've just purchased a van, which we've got it looked like it went through a paintball fight,
It's so cool.
and a trailer.
So
and
cool.
we're going to start stretching out our territory, going out farther, and doing pickup and delivery, and developing a new customer. Be doubling in size in a relatively short time.
Or tripling or quadrupling.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're
So-
adding some new things that we do at the shop as well. Some more services that we do
Okay.
that will help. It will help for our customers, make their time easier. It'll just be really
Well,
good.
I think when you start out, you have to start with the basics. And as things grow, you can add on different things, and that's, I believe, what you're describing.
Yes.
Something like that, sure. More services, exactly. Now, let's explore your paintball fight just a little bit, if you would, Steve. So when you say a paintball fight, you're not talking about all the same color, I don't believe, are you?
No. Just about any color you'd put up against this van is going to match something. There. So, we had Signtastic do a complete wrap
It matches my hair.
on the van, and you can't miss this thing going down the road. And then we had a trailer built to be able to haul the bigger things, the gates and those kind of things, and it's fuchsia. And so
Powder-coated fuchsia.
Powder coated fuchsia.
So, and that's about the same color as the
It
rest.
is about, except it has sparkle in it too.
Well, you could have done a little bit of that today, Steph. I don't know.
It's just my sparkling personality.
Thank you. You saved that one. Cool. That's good. That's good.
Off-camera question.
Off-camera question.
Yes. So, how do you rebuild your confidence when you've had a failed business to get in the position to where you're building a successful business and it's exploding? And how did faith play into that?
That's a good
It takes a long time to finally get to the place, and every time something would happen after we started Heartland Coatings, I'd feel like, here we go again. That thing would play in my mind. Here we go again. The other shoe's going to drop, but we just press through it and dispel that fear. Fear is a stronghold, and it'll saturate you if you're not careful about it. This COVID thing going on right now is a stronghold of fear. People so afraid, and it took a long time. And having a good wife stand inside of me to remind me that God was faithful, that nothing happens by accident, that all things work together for good, and you just press in. And I'd be less than honest if I didn't say it's taken years to finally feel so confident that Heartland Coatings will not fail. But if it would, he's still God.
You know, I've heard it said, Steve, that fear is false evidence appearing real.
That's right.
And so when you think about false evidence, who perpetrates that?
That's right.
You know, Satan does.
Well-
And that little voice in your ear, I think he's very effective at putting that in all of our ears
Yeah.
about these sorts of things. And I also would go a step further and say, I think one of the things you said is very important, and that is having a prayer warrior at your side, your wife Jerry, who I will testify is one of the strongest prayer warriors I've ever met anywhere, anytime. And believe it is true, she's been a big influence on my life. Others have too, and you know, people that I've come across who show faith, genuine faith, who are able to impart that genuineness to you. You know it's real. I mean, there's no question.
Yeah. John,
that
I would
such a
say
faith
to
is real.
anybody listening that is going through a business downturn, failure, fear kind of thing, you call Heartland Coatings and we will come there and pray with you through
There
this.
you
We've
go.
experienced it, so you can minister to people through experience a lot better than you can just through, just theory.
So if you want to talk about God at work, if your work is experiencing a problem, you've just heard one of the best prayer warriors I've ever met offer to come and pray with you.
Our phone number is 863-446-1246.
There you go.
Give us a call.
Beautiful. So let's keep exploring some things you're doing now, okay?
Color Palooza.
Yeah, the Color Palooza. So I have to say this.
This is the architect.
This is the architect of Color Palooza is Stephanie right here. And it just takes one look. I hope this is broadcast in color, because if it is, you're missing a lot. So I talked to Stephanie about her hair color today. She said, "Oh, come by tomorrow. I'll show you a new color with a new blouse." You know? so that's just Stephanie. And I love that too. I really do. So
Well,
you're
It's just hair, and it'll grow back.
Oh,
if
that's
I
right.
Do too much.
so as we talk about Color Palooza, what exactly is that? What does that mean?
Color Palooza is an event that we're having on August 1st. It's a car show, a bike show, an ATV show, a truck show. We're possibly having an airplane.
Where's this Raymond James Stadium?
We maybe should do that. It's out at our shop at 8002 Associate Boulevard in the Industrial Park off 98. And we're having our community come together, and even people from outside of our community, to raise money for our Highlands County veterans. In this COVID situation, people they're not getting off their wallets to help our community. And so our veterans are suffering for that. And that's not cool. I mean,
Yeah.
we owe a debt of gratitude to them. And so I just thought, what is something that we can do that we can get out, let our hair down, blow off some steam, have some fun. There's going to be a band playing Blackbird Anthem. There's going to be food, strangely warmed coffee. We'll have a wagon out there, everybody. You need to come have some yummy coffee.
Just so you know, strangely warm coffee is the coffee that is made here at this church. We import the beans from
How
Peru.
convenient is that?
Who would have thought? You're right. But we import the beans from Peru. It's all organic, and roast and grind the beans right here, and it's available for sale. So, pressing on.
So anyway, it's going to be a really good time. We're giving away some amazing prizes. We have some fantastic, not so famous super judges that are coming out, and I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm really super excited that we have these people. And so it's going to be a good time. It's going to be fun for the community. We have a bounce house for the littles. And we're going to raise a lot of money for some really good people who need it. And that's what Color Palooza is about.
Now, I have to tell you, John, I'm pretty bold in what I've done, but she's scared me to death with this thing. I mean, we did a lift kit for a guy in Fort Pierce, and he just happens to be the president of a Ram a truck club that has 200 members, and he said, "Oh yeah, we'd like to come." He said, probably the whole 200 won't come, but probably there'll be 30 of us. And we just keep getting that over and over. I'm just beginning to wonder where we're going to put everybody. So
We'll
That's why I
figure it
said
out.
Raymond James.
Yeah. Yeah, next year we'll have to have, I don't know what we'll do.
this is the
That's
first
a good idea.
annual or the
Yeah,
inaugural.
the inaugural
Color
Colorpalooza.
Well, I think Dan had a good suggestion. Have it out at the raceway there. You got
We
lots of
could.
space. You got lots
we
of
could.
expansion and
So, but
yeah.
we would like to do this, every year. We'll see how this goes. I'm both terrified and excited,
Well, the nice thing about this year is people get to come to your shop and
That's
see your shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
for
that's
sure.
important because and see the work that you do and like I said, social media is very important,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes word of mouth can fill it right
Absolutely.
up. The lift kit, just seeing the one lift kit
Yeah.
and seeing the work you did makes others want to do something like
Well,
that.
we
too.
just started this out just to be for our customers, and so they could get together.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just exploded. I mean, one of the race teams here is going to bring a race car, and possibly one of the airplanes that we do a lot of powder coating parts on it and things.
Well, I would say this, so to the listening audience, if you have anything metal that needs to be refurbished or you want to bring new life to it, so if you need a fuchsia chair or something like that, you can fix it right up here.
Yes, we can.
You can make it happen.
Yeah.
I
There's
like
7,000 color options.
terrific, terrific. So before we close, and we're running close to the end of where we're going, is there anything you would like to say about how you feel your faith works in your business to close us out?
I just can't imagine doing business without faith in God. When I run to the end of what I know how to do, I still have hope that He's going to bring things in. And
Yes.
There's in the Proverbs it talks about witty inventions. He gives us witty inventions, and we are experienced that with the glass bottles. We figured out how to do those kind of things. So when things come to us and we can't figure it out, God has the answers to those things. So I surely would hope that everybody that is struggling with their businesses and things would bring it before God and let Him help you, because He's anxious to do that.
Very anxious to do that. I believe that too. Yes. Anything from you, Steph?
I agree with everything he
Yeah,
said.
that's good. I like that. Well, let's talk about one other quick thing
Okay.
that you mentioned before we started. I think it's important, and this would be a great thing to close with. Whenever you have issues that come up at work, it's almost second nature for dads talking to you and say, "Hey, what about this? What about that?" And you say, "Well, what about we pray about it?"
That's what we do.
That's what you do.
That's what we do. We spend a lot of time walking around the building and praying. We spend a lot of time in the office praying. We pray in the front yard, or what do you call that? The driveway. I mean, you have to. If you don't have God in your business, and we've seen this firsthand, there's a certain amount of joy that you get knowing that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and we've all had hard times in our lives. Dad's lost his business. I'm a cancer survivor. We've all gone through things that is just the devil in your face, and that's just what it is. But when you're beat down and beat down and beat down, sometimes it's hard to remember that. But always, Jesus is there for us. Always. He's putting His arms around us. He's our strength when we have none. And that applies to not only in our business, but in our personal lives as well. And so if we learn nothing else from this half hour, we need to learn that you are never alone. God is always with you. And all you have to do is say, "Hey, here I am and I need help." And He will be there. He is faithful to that. And that's what makes our business great. And that's what makes our lives great. And that's really all I have.
And that, folks, is God at work. I couldn't have said it any better. It couldn't be said any better than what you just said.
Thank you.
And so we hope you'll join us again next week. We have to bring this session to a close. We do want to thank Steve Slayball and Stephanie Wirtz and all the fine folks at Hartley Coatings for their support. And we just say God bless you. Hope you join us again next week for God at Work at 8 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Thank you.